Hello, nerds. Where did that come from? Hello, people of the internet. It's Amanda, and for today's video, we are going down memory lane, and I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now, just sitting down, talking about how I got into this entire mess in general, but I've just never gotten the chance to because of like in between reviewing certain dramas and then just fangirling here and there. But because of certain things that happened, I figured that, I would want to like just sit down, talk about things, reflect, look back, and just come into a realization as to why I keep going back to J entertainment and J culture in general in terms of my main source for it's just something that I constantly go back to. There's gonna be a lot of throwback, but yeah, let's just do this. This all started with this very, very, very cryptic Instagram post posted by SixTONES official Instagram account where, and don't quote me on this, they might be singing the opening theme for Yashahime, which is a sequel for Inuyasha. Now, I don't want to like dive deep into the theories or the connections anymore or whatever, because if you know what Yashahime is or Inuyasha is, or you've heard of the hype, just that post alone would tell you where the rumors are coming from. So I don't want to like put on the old tinfoil hat thing here and just, explore that. But let's just say that that triggered certain feelings and emotions and just memories as to that made me really want to talk about, how I ended up making videos about J dramas and J culture and anything like that. So that's basically that. Now, I've talked about this in my previous videos when I did the ones for Yashahime, when they announced it, and then some theories after the whole press con happened. But Inuyasha was when I properly fell in love with anime as a kid. I remember like as early as, I don't know, it's so easy back then in the 90s and early 2000s here in the Philippines to just grow up watching anime, because in the afternoon and early morning usually it's dubbed in your local language and it's just there available, and it's definitely one of the things that after your afternoon nap or something like that, it'll be something that you will see on regular television. And so I grew up like watching a lot of shonen anime, like for example Voltes 5, Daimos, all those mecha stuff. And then I remember also like the live action version of Ultraman is something that I constantly watched back when I was younger, even more so than say, I don't know, Sailor Moon or something like that. I was really into a lot of shonen anime growing up. And then Inuyasha happened. Now I remember, I think I was 8 or 9 years old or something like that, and that was the first anime that, not really the first anime that I watched, but the first anime that made me feel so engrossed in terms of the narrative of what's happening, just the whole love triangle with Kikyo, Kagome, and Inuyasha. Like, I was so invested in that, and I just love the whole idea of, this girl from modern times going back in time and just all these things. So there's just something about it that fascinated me so much, and I think that was the actual moment I properly fell in love with anime, even without the consciousness of what anime actually is, because obviously it's dubbed in my local language. So it's just one of those things that it's just animation or a cartoon that you get to like watch and everything like that, but there's no cultural consciousness yet that went into the choice of watching it. But I remember that was also the first time that I felt like I also have fallen in love with just J music in general, and that is because of V6 Change the World. It was just like one of those tunes that, and I've never done it before for like other animes back then. That's why I remember it so vividly, is because Change the World, I was so obsessed with Inuyasha to the point that, Change the World is the only phrase, like, I want to change the world. that was the only line that I can understand as a kid. But even if like the other words there sort of like just gets drowned out after, while I was singing along to it, that was when my affinity for Japanese music started, even before, again, I knew what J music was. And so looking back at it now, and it's so funny to me when I finally got into the whole, J music, J-pop, Johnny's specifically, and finding out that, V6 is also from the same agency, and it just like goes full circle from there. I mean, I feel like even as a kid, I already had the makings of a fangirl, so that's why here we are now. But honestly, like that moment to me was just really, really something, because it wasn't until like a couple of years later that I started to properly really understand what anime or just J culture and J dramas were. So that point, like 8 to 9 years old, that's really something. So when the whole Yashahime thing happened, I mean, I think people who've seen my Yashahime video can feel the excitement, because I wasn't able to like properly process everything. I just stopped, sat down, filmed the video. There are a lot of like lapses in my video because of how excited I got from there. But like, I was just so pumped in a way that a sequel is happening, because obviously more so than newer fans of anime, this is something that's nostalgic and very personal to me. So there's that particular fact. Now, I was actually hoping a bit that maybe V6 would be invited again to sing the OP for this. But if ever it's true that SixTONES would be the one doing this, and they've had like the experience with Fugokeiji, I feel like Navigator is such a bop that even if you're not into SixTONES, or just like if you're into more anime songs than just just the other like artist side of J music, Navigator will definitely is one of the OPs that you wouldn't skip because of how good it is. And so like learning that, I wasn't disappointed at all. Even if I want V6 to sing it for nostalgia purposes, at least for myself, it kind of makes sense. Like if this newer group, and again, same agency, Johnny's, there's definitely this like passing of the baton thing happening that really sort of like made me reflective of my own like relationship with just the niche or the genre that is J culture and J entertainment. And so that's the reason why I'm making this video today. Now, going back to that entire thing, so after the whole anime conundrum thing, like growing up, like starting from there, starting to like age and everything from 8 to 9 years old, and then around my tween years, say 12, 13, I was already I already had a consciousness of, anime is something that's from Japan. And then there's like this whole fascination of, I think I was, Detective Conan became like another one of my favorites. And then there's just like a lot of that thing that I just can't shake it off. And then my aunt introduced me to J dramas. She just got into it. And so because we're really close, she, like going to my grandparents' house where she lives, it sort of like became this thing of introducing me and my other cousin to, this world of like J dramas. And whenever, it's kind of funny and ironic that I can't remember my first J drama as to which one it was. Like I always talk about two things because I'm not sure which one went first when I was watching it, but it was either My Boss My Hero or Nobuta wa Produce. And the thing with just the Philippine culture of like Asian dramas, we've already had that. Like I'm particularly aware of that already. Prior to getting into J dramas, because of like Taiwanese dramas or like Chinese dramas being dubbed in the local language. So obviously there's Meteor Garden and stuff like that. So the awareness as to like these other TV dramas from other countries is already there. It's just that once I started watching J dramas, and then being introduced to this niche with these titles that I just mentioned earlier, it was more of like a look into something that's outside of just romance stories that at that age I still couldn't comprehend very well. And just watching these, something that's, purely like comedy or exploring yourself into, this very unique concept of just fitting in school and just finding, like, making friends and anything like that. So it was a concept that was a lot more relatable to me back then. And then from there, it sort of like grew to Gokusen. And for some reason, like, I've always been fascinated with like teacher-student type of dramas or movies. Like, I think I've talked about this before as well. Like, so watching Gokusen, we all have that aspiration of having a teacher like Yankumi, and then knowing and then finding out that, Feel Your Breeze for Gokusen season 1 was also sang by V6. You can't imagine just how fascinated I was of that, because it makes me feel like, I was really made to have this like transition from that kid who's fascinated about Inuyasha as an anime to someone who's starting to fall in love with J-dramas, and then it's the same artist, same music, so to me. And then Hana Yori Dango happened, and I think like from there it was just this spiral of just loving this genre for what it is and exploring, different narratives that's very ingenious, that's something that's very unique, that's something that goes beyond, the imagination of, say, normal narratives that I would get from like Western materials like books or TV shows, or something that I can also see in like local television. So for Japan, there's always this variety and a bit of like a weirdness to the genres that it presents to me, but at the same time, it also delivers certain messages, no matter how peculiar certain topics are. And that's the reason why I fell in love with J-dramas for the longest time. Plus, there's also the fact that as soon as I watched Hana Kimi, like, I didn't really pay much attention to him in Hana Yori Dango season 2 episode 1, because I was so invested with the whole Maki no Domyoji type of thing there that I didn't even notice it until I rewatched the season then after Hana Kimi. But when Hana Kimi happened, my first love also happened. I'm so happy that he's married now. But ikuta toma in Hana Kimi as Nakatsu is my first J-drama love. Like, I mean, I've fallen in love with Matsujun's Sawada Shin, obviously. Like, I think around the time, if you started watching J-dramas at the time, Matsujun, whether it be Hana Yori Dango or Gokusen, he would be like your first J-drama crush. But and that's the same for me. But when Hana Kimi really happened, I mean, ikuta toma wasn't replaced in my heart as my ichi until 2018. Like, that's how long it was. And that was like, I started watching J-dramas early 2000s, so that's definitely something. Like, when he reached his 30s, I was already, like, I was like thriving whenever there are dating rumors going around, because I was really wishing for him to finally get married or anything like that. Like, that's how invested I was. But yeah, just in that entire time, so I was just really into like J-dramas and everything like that. And then college sort of happened, that I entered college 2011, and around I think time of like 2013 2015 type of thing. So those are like more critical years from when I was in university, where just majors were happening, thesis was about to happen and stuff like that, and I sort of like lost touch with just J-drama or the J-entertainment industry and what's like happening. And I was sort of like, I started to become like a casual viewer then, of just like going back and forth a bit, checking in on a couple of movies, but not necessarily knowing who the newer actors are that I was seeing on screen, and just watching anime casually here and there and stuff like that, but not as invested as I was back when I was in high school, where all of the songs on my phones are just J-pop in general and just all of those things. So I sort of like had that hiatus moment around the time, and then Here it is. Around 2016, 2017, I heard certain rumors that a Hana Yori Dango sequel was going to happen, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. Didn't know that apparently a sequel, an actual sequel, was going to happen. Now come 2018, May 2018 to be exact. I remember this so vividly because I felt like my I'm the mess that I am now because of this. If you go like look at the history of my channel prior to 2018, the only Japan-centric content, I guess, that I kept on pushing out would be my travel vlogs. And it's because, around 2016, that was the first time that I got to travel to Japan with my family. And that sort of like reignited certain feels. I was super excited when I got to visit Shibuya and they were sort of like promoting Grasshopper, again starring Yamada Ryosuke and Ikuta Toma. So I got to see like the glasses that he wore for the movie, which I obviously had to take a cheeky photo with, but like I still wasn't there in a way. Like it was more of like bringing me back to this entire thing, but not grasping me back completely. The pivotal moment really happened May 2018 because I was just randomly scrolling through Facebook, minding my own business, being so chill with whatever. And then I saw this like video that for some reason I just couldn't shake. So I scrolled back just to watch what it is. And someone uploaded the first episode, unsubbed, of Hana Nochi Hare. I think you sort of like know now where this is going considering my current leanings and preferences, but let me tell the story anyways. So I was curious because I was like, that's Eitaku's logo. So what's happening? Again, I wasn't aware that a sequel was apparently happening, and so there's that. Now I continued to like watch it, and I saw Sugisaki Hana, who I've seen in Gakko no Kaidan before from, when I was just, casually checking in on current dramas here and there. So I watched that one with Suzu and Kamiki. And she was one of like the supporting characters on there. So I was like, okay, a familiar face, good. And then I saw Nakagawa Taishi, and I was like, okay, I've seen him before too. I like him. And then, watched and everything. And then I figured, okay. So I know where this is heading. This is a Hana Yori Dango sequel. Okay, fine. And then the life wrecker came in. I don't remember that particular scene where all the suspense and everything like that with C5 walking in, having this whole new vibe of like the new F4 kind of thing. And I was like, can they really top what happened with Hana Yori Dango? I mean, seriously. So how are they going to shake things up? And I remember being so pissed at the Meteor Garden remake version of Taiwan, or was that China or something like that. I was so pissed at that. So having another one of these sort of like, I wasn't sure what to feel. And then Hiranosho as Kaguragi Haruto popped on screen. Now it wasn't like a thing where, okay, I'm gonna watch this now because of him, but because of how strong I love Hana Yori Dango and how Matsujun is just an effective domyoji. So I was immediately curious as to who is this guy, and I haven't seen Hiranosho before as well. So there's definitely this thing like, this is a new face. So let's move on. Let's continue. And then the plot for episode 1 happened, and it was so ridiculously funny, and how distinct it was from, the character of Domyoji was so far off from who Haruto was. And I was immediately drawn into this new narrative, obviously because of the nostalgia of Hana Yori Dango. And then this happened. And then Cinderella Girl played. And I was like, this is a catchy song. Interesting, interesting. Around the time episode 4 or 5 was happening, we went to Japan. And ironically, like even if we went to Tokyo in 2016, we never really got to visit Ibisu Garden Place because our itinerary was just so packed with, you know, the usual touristy stuff. Our third time going to Japan, I figured, you know what, I can squeeze in a little bit of like fangirly things on our itinerary, and so I got to squeeze both Ibisu Garden Place and Suga Shrine, which is the stairs for Kimi no Nawa, in that particular day, in that particular trip. And the funny thing was, Cinderella Girl was playing everywhere when we went there, because I was also not conscious of the fact that apparently King and Prince just debuted at the time as well. So I kept on seeing them like everywhere, and being me, you know, I was still in denial a bit. I was just casually taking photos of whenever I see them. You know, obviously that like person I know then was only Shaw because of Hana Nochi Hare, and I tried to like not look them up yet because I told myself, you know what, this is just very casual, you know, not gonna be sucked into this again. And so I was just like casually taking photos of King and Prince whenever I see them. Like I on TV a lot at the time, and I took a video of one of their performances on TV as well, saying again, just taking this for fun, you know, casually. Such a clown, I swear. And that was also the first time, I remember that vividly because I was watching with my brother, and that was the first time I also fell in love with Genki. I didn't even know what his name yet was because, you know, it was the first time that I was actually paying attention to them as a group. But when I saw Genki, I was like, huh, who is that kawaii creature right there? And I was just so, that was when, you know, all the lies started to just crumble down at that point, and I was just like, here we go again. I started like the first J-drama content. So before this entire thing, my channel was practically nicheless. Like I just talk about, you know, random things that fascinate me, all other things, I don't know. But because of that, I started to talk about my Hana Nochi Hare, like Hana Nochi Hare episode 1 to 8, I think, just very casually here on my channel. I even forgot to set up my mic then because I didn't think that anyone would even care. It's me talking about Hana Nochi Hare and episodes 1 to 8, and that was that. And for some reason, it resonated really well with people, and I figured that, you know, there are not a lot of content creators talking about J content, specifically dramas. I mean, anime for sure, there are some, but J dramas and J movies in general, like there are not a lot of people talking about them. And I actually enjoy making this content because I know it since I was like in my teenage years. So talking about it is something that's very, very easy, and that's how it spiraled from there. Basically, it's a very, very interesting experience, and I'm really glad I got dragged into this entire thing again. Now 2 years later, ever since then, here I am just constantly making content, not really for, you know, for if anyone's interested, sure, but it's really more for me, because whenever I find something that's fascinating or interesting or something that I want to just trash sometimes, or just have very strong feelings about when it comes to dramas or anything like that, and obviously there are not a lot of people to talk about it to in real life, so just making these types of videos, you know, it's sort of like became this very comforting thing for me, and that's where we are right now. So I was really, really happy that I got dragged into this mess again by one of my favorite franchises ever, Hana Yori Dango / Hana Nochi Hare. Like, just being dragged into that, it really says a lot about how nostalgia sometimes like really drags you deep into something that you're very passionate about. And I don't know, that's sort of like how we ended up with where we are today, you know, buying merch and stuff. And yeah. But yeah, so tell me down in comments below, what's your J culture, J entertainment, J drama, J pop history? I would love to hear all about it down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel and you would want to hear more from me, please hit subscribe. This is just a lengthy ass video of me talking about this, and it feels so good to just look back at all these memories. And yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be seeing you again soon in a new one.